Hi, this is my first reading of a novel. I hope you like it. So when I was in Germany, I visited Frankfurt because I really wanted to see the Goethe house, and I picked up the book, obviously in English, so that I can read it, The Sorrows of Young Werther. In German, that is Die Leiden des jungen Werthers. So the novel is by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and the foreword by him. I can definitely read. So this is technically a sleep aid, so I don't mind you falling asleep to me reading, but if you are interested, then that's all good too. Sorry, this was a bit improvised. But yeah, there's an introduction to the novel, of course, and it talks about more of the history, which I am more than happy to make a recording of if anyone is interested. So we'll start with Goethe's words on the novel. Everything I could discover about poor Werther's story I have diligently gathered together and lay it before you now, and know that you will thank me. His mind and his character will compel your admiration and your love, and his fate will compel your tears. And you, amiable soul, feeling driven as he was, draw comfort from his suffering, and let this little book be your friend, if by chance or by some fault of your own you can find none nearer. Book 1, 4th of May 1771. How glad I am to be away. My dear friend, what a thing the human heart is. I leave you, whom I love so much, from whom I was inseparable, and I am glad. You will forgive me, I know. Were not all my other dealings with people expressly designed by fate to alarm and distress a heart like mine? Poor Leonora, and yet I was innocent. Could I help it that whilst her charming and heedless sister was amusing me, a real passion was forming in poor Leonora's heart? And yet, am I wholly innocent? Did I not foster her feelings? Was I not myself delighted by the wholly truthful expressions of her nature, which, though not in the least laughable, so often made us laugh? And did I not? But what sense is there in berating ourselves? My dear friend, I promise you I will mend my ways, and cease for ever chewing over the small evils that fate puts in our path. I will enjoy the present and be done with the past. Dear friend, you are quite right. There would be less pain among people if they would desist. God knows what makes them do it. From so busily employing their imaginations in remembering past ills, rather than in enduring an indifferent present. I'd be grateful if you would tell my mother that I shall do my very best in her affair, and that I'll write to her about it as soon as I can. I've spoken to my aunt and found her not at all the wicked woman our family makes her out to be. She is lively, spirited, and very good-hearted. I explained my mother's grievances over the portion of the inheritance being withheld. She told me her grounds, the reasons, and the conditions on which she would be prepared to release everything, and more than we were asking for. In brief, I don't want to write about it now. Tell my mother all will be well. And in this small matter, my friend, I have realized once again that misunderstandings and lethargy can cause more going wrong in the world than cunning and wickedness do. At least those two are certainly less common. Beyond that, I very much like being here, in this paradisal part of the country, solitude is a precious balm for my heart, and that heart, so often struck cold, is warmed by the youthful season in all abundance. Every tree, every hedge is a bouquet of blossom. Oh, to be a Maybug and flit where you like in that sea of scents and get all your nourishment there. The town itself is disagreeable, but all around the beauty of nature is beyond expression. This induced the late Count M. to lay out his garden on one of the numerous hills that in lovely variations cross their courses here, forming the sweetest valleys. The garden is simple, and you feel the moment you enter that it was designed not by a scientific gardener, but by a feeling heart desiring to enjoy itself. In the dilapidated little summer house that was once his favourite place is now mine. I have wept more than once in memory of the dead man. I'll soon be the lord of the garden. After only these few days the gardener is well disposed towards me, and he won't be the loser by it. 10th of May. A wonderful cheerfulness has taken complete possession of my soul, like the beautiful spring mornings that I am enjoying so wholeheartedly. I am alone, and am glad of my life in this locality made for souls like mine. My dear friend, I am so happy and have sunk so deep into the feeling of calm existence that my art suffers under it. I could not do a drawing now, not a line of one, and yet was never a greater artist than I am in these moments. When the moisture rises in a mist in the sweet valley all around me, and the high sun rests on the surface of the forest's impenetrable darkness, and only occasional beams find their way into the inner sanctum, and I lie in the tall grass by the tumbling stream, and thus close to the earth, become aware of the myriad varieties of grasses, and when I feel the seething of the world of small things among the stalks, feel against my heart the countless unfathomable shapes and forms of the tiny creatures that flit and crawl, and I feel the presence of the Almighty who created us in his image, the wafting breath of the love that encompasses all, that upholds and sustains us in an eternal joy. Oh, my friend, at the dawning then before my eyes, when the world and the heavens reside in my soul completely, like the bodily shape of a beloved woman, then how I yearn and often have said to myself, oh, could you give that some answering expression, only breathe into the page what is so fully and warmly alive in you, till it becomes the mirror of your soul, just as your soul is the mirror of the unending deity. Oh, my friend, but it will be the downfall of me. I lie defeated by the force of the splendour of these phenomena. Twelfth of May. I cannot tell whether deceiving spirits hover over this locality, or whether it is the warm and heavenly imagination of my heart that makes everything around me so paradisal. Just outside the town there is a well, to which I am in thrall like Melusina and her sisters. You descend a small incline and find yourself at a cupola, below which perhaps 20 steps go down to where an utterly clear water bubbles up out of marble, the low wall making an enclosure at the top, the tall overshadowing trees all round. The coolness of the place, it draws me and gives me the shivers too. No day goes by without my sitting there an hour. The girls come from the town to fetch water, the most innocent and the most necessary of tasks that formerly the very daughters of kings used to perform. As I sit there, the patriarchal idea comes to life very vividly in me, how they, the forefathers, would meet and become acquainted and courtships would begin, and how kind the spirits are that hover around wells and springs. Oh, anyone who after a long summer walk has ever refreshed himself at the coolness of a well must feel as I do. 13th of May. You ask should you send me my books? For heaven's sake, my dear friend, do no such thing. I have no wish to be directed, encouraged, fired up any more. My heart is in quite enough ferment of itself. I need lulling, and I have had that in abundance from my Homer. How often he has helped me calm the upheaval of my blood, for nothing you have ever encountered is quite so uneven and unsteady as this heart of mine. But I don't need to tell you that, since you, my dear friend, have so often had the burden of watching me shift from sorrow to extravagance, and from sweet melancholy to harmful passion. But I tend my heart now like a sick child. Grant its every wish. Keep that to yourself. There are people who would begrudge it me. 15th of May. The common people hereabouts know me now and like me, especially the children. A sad thing struck me. At first, when I approached them and asked them in a friendly way about this or that, some thought I had a mind to make fun of them and put off very coarsely. I did not let that grieve me, but I felt very keenly what I have often remarked. People of a certain social standing will always keep themselves coldly at a distance from the lower orders, as though they feared any reproachment. People of a certain social standing will always keep themselves coldly at a distance from the lower orders, as though they feared any reproachment might diminish them. And then there are flighty characters and evil jokers who make a show of abasing themselves only so that their superiority may be all the more painfully apparent to the poor. I know very well that we are not equal, nor can we be, but in my view anyone who feels it necessary to keep away from the so-called common herd to make them respect him is as much at fault as a coward who keeps himself hidden from his enemy for fear of defeat. The other day I came to the well and found a young maidservant who had put down her pitcher on the bottom step and was looking round for one of her friends to come and help her lift it onto her head. I went down and addressed her. "Shall I help you, young lady?" She blushed and blushed. "Oh no, sir," she said. "Come now." She adjusted the coil of cloth on her head, and I helped her. She thanked me and climbed the steps. 17th of May. I have made all manner of acquaintances, but have found no real company yet. I don't know what it is about me that attracts people. So many like me and attach themselves to me, and I'm sorry then when our paths very soon diverge. If you ask me what the people here are like, I'm bound to say, as they are everywhere, human beings are much of a muchness. Most spend the greater part of their time working in order to live, and what bit of freedom they are left with makes them so anxious they strive to be all available means to be rid of it. What a thing it is to be human. But all in all they are a decent crowd. Sometimes, if I forget myself and enjoy, as human beings still may, the pleasures of sitting and jesting in all openness and conviviality around a nicely laid table, or of arranging a ride or a dance when it suits, such things have a very good effect on me, just so long as I suppress any thought of the many other powers in me that are decaying unused and that I must take care to conceal. Oh, it constrains my heart. But to be misunderstood is the fate of our kind. Alas, that the friend of my youth has gone. Alas, that I ever knew her. I might say to myself, you are a fool. You are searching for something which is not to be found on earth. But I found her. I felt the heart and the generous soul of her in whose presence I felt myself to be more than I was because I was everything I could be. Dear God, did even one of the powers of my soul go unused then? In her company could I not open up all of the wonderful faculty of feeling with which my heart comprehends nature? Our conversation was a ceaseless weaving of the finest sensibilities, and in the play of our wits, going further and further, even to the point of license, we expressed our unique selves. And now, oh, the years she had ahead of me brought her sooner to the grave. I shall never forget her steadfastness, and her heavenly patience. A few days ago, I met a person by the name of V, a candid young man with a very agreeable face. He is fresh from the academies, doesn't exactly think himself wise, but does believe he knows more than others do. And he is hard-working, as was apparent in all manner of things. In brief, he is admirably knowledgeable. When he heard that I do a lot of sketching and know Greek, two great wonders hereabouts, he addressed himself to me and raked up a whole load of learning. From Die Piles to Winkelmann, and informed me that he had read Sulz's theory, the first part, and that he owned a manuscript by Heine on the subject of antiquity. I let him be. And I have got to know another good man, the Duke's land steward, an open and honest person. They say it delights one's soul to see him among his children. 9 of them. People set particular store by his eldest daughter. He invited me to visit him, and I shall do so as soon as possible. He lives in the Duke's hunting lodge, an hour and a half from here. He was allowed to move there after the death of his wife, when being here at his residence in the town became too painful for him. Otherwise, a few bizarre individuals have come my way about whom everything is insufferable. Above all, their demonstrations of friendship. Adieu, you'll be happy with this letter. It is nothing but facts. 22nd of May. It has seemed to many that the life of a man is only a dream, and I am myself always accompanied by that feeling, when I consider how narrowly the active and inquiring powers of a human being are confined, when I see that all effective effort has as its end the satisfaction of needs, which themselves have no purpose except to lengthen the duration of our poor existence, and that any contentment on one point or another of our inquiries consists only in a sort of dreaming resignation, as we paint the walls within which we sit our imprisonment, with bright figures and vistas of light. All that, Wilhelm, renders me speechless. I go back into myself and find a whole world, again more in intimations and a dark desire than in realization and living force. And everything swims before my senses, and I smile at the world, and continue my dreaming. All our learned schoolmasters and tutors are agreed that children do not know why they want what they want. But no one likes to think, blindingly obvious though it is, in my view, that grown-ups too, like the children, totter around on the earth and, like the children, do not know where they have come from, or where they are going, act no more than children do for any true purpose, and are just as governed by biscuits, cakes, and the rod. I don't mind telling you, since I know what your response will be, that I think those the happiest who, like children, live for the moment, trail their dolls around, dress them and undress them, tiptoe with great respect around the drawer in which Mama hides the sweet things they desire. Then snatch, gobble, and cry for more. They are happy creatures, and just as well off are those who give splendid names to their miserable occupations, or worse, to their passions, and proclaim them to be the works of giants, for the prosperity and salvation of mankind. Yes, you are well off if you can live like that. But whoever in his humility knows what it all amounts to, who sees how every comfortable householder prinks up his little garden into a paradise, and how doggedly even the unhappy man hauls himself and his burden further along the way, and that their one interest is the same, to view the light of the sun a minute more. Seeing that, you are quiet, and out of your own self you too may fashion a world of your own, and even be happy in being human. And then, confined as you are, you harbour the sweet feeling of freedom in your heart, and are conscious that you can always leave this prison when you like. 26th of May. You've long known my habit of settling in somewhere, setting up home in some cosy place and lodging there in all simplicity and frugality. Here too I have discovered an attractive spot. About an hour from here there is a place called Valheim. It is very interestingly situated, on a hill, and if you follow the path up from the village, you can encompass the whole valley in one view. A landlady there, not young any more, but agreeable and cheerful, serves wine, beer, coffee. Best are 2 lime trees whose wide-spreading branches overreach the little square outside the church, and enclosing all are farmhouses, barns and yards. I've rarely come across a place so closely congenial and homely as this. I have my table and chair fetched out from the house, and there I drink my coffee and read my Homer. On my first visit, coming by chance one lovely afternoon under those trees, the place felt quite deserted. They were all in the fields, and there was only a boy of about 4 sitting on the ground and holding another, perhaps 6 months old, between his legs and against his chest, so that he made a sort of armchair for him. And there he sat entirely, peaceably, though his black eyes looked around in a very lively fashion. The scene pleased me. I sat down opposite, on a plough, and sketched that brotherly pose with great pleasure. They were all in the fields. There was only a boy of about 4 sitting on the ground and holding another, perhaps 6 months old, between his legs and against his chest, so that he made a sort of armchair for him. And there he sat entirely, peaceably, though his black eyes looked around in a very lively fashion. The scene pleased me. I sat down opposite, on a plough, and sketched that brotherly pose with great pleasure. I added the nearest fence, a barn door, and 1 or 2 broken wagon wheels, just as they were ranged together, and found, after an hour, that I had made a very interesting and harmonious sketch without introducing the least thing of my own. This strengthened me in my resolve henceforth to hold only to nature. She alone is infinitely rich, and she alone can make the great artist. One can say a good deal in favour of the rules, roughly what one can say in favour of civil society. A person shaping himself after the rules will never produce anything that is tasteless or bad, just as a man who lets himself be formed by the law and by decorum will never be an intolerable neighbour or a remarkable miscreant. But say what you like, All rules destroy the true feeling of nature and the true expression of nature. You'll tell me that it's too severe. Rules do no more than moderate. They prune the rampant vine, etc., etc. My dear friend, let me tell you what it is like. It is like love. A young man is heart and soul attached to a girl, spends every hour of the day with her, expends all his energies, all he owns, in demonstrating every minute that he is utterly hers. Then along comes a Philistine, holder of some public office, and says to him, "My dear young man, loving is human, but you must love as a human being should. Divide up your hours, some for work, and those for recreation give to your girl. Calculate your assets, and having covered your needs by all means, draw on what's left to make her a present now and then. Only not too often, on her birthday or her name day, for example. If the lover does as he is told, a useful young man, and I myself would recommend any prince to appoint him to one board or another. But that's the end of his love, and if he's an artist, of his art. My friends, I ask you, why does the river of genius so seldom burst its banks, so seldom surge high and roar upon you, and shake and astonish your souls? Friends, on both banks are the dwelling places of placid gentlemen, whose summer houses, tulip beds, and vegetable plots would be destroyed, and who therefore in good time ward off the future danger by damming and diverting.